Hi, first graders. It's Mrs. Shepherd here. This week we are learning about biomimicry, and I am going to read you this book. And so here's the front page, Biomimicry. And then it starts with a couple of pictures here, talks about the words we're going to know. Now, this book is actually for about fifth and sixth graders to read. So I'm going to read it to you. And some of the words might be kind of big for us, but that's okay. Just listen along and try to learn about how engineers and scientists learn from animals to then create new things that will help make life better for humans. So here's the table of contents. There's an introduction. What is biomimicry? That comes from what? Why is biomimicry so important? The future of biomimicry. And then there's a conclusion, and at the end there's a glossary of like a small dictionary of words we might not know. So I'm going to start here. It says a peacock displays his feathers to attract mates. Okay? Introduction. Did you know that a peacock's feathers have little color of their own? The colors we see come from the shape of the feathers, which causes light to bend so they look colorful. Have you ever noticed how flying locusts never seem to run into each other? One part of their tiny brains notices and reacts to things in front of them much faster than our brains can. Nature is filled with many plants and animals that have developed special ways to live and survive. For years, humans have studied these ways to learn more about how they work. Now, a science called biomimicry teaches us how to use what we learn from nature in our own lives. What is biomimicry? The word biomimicry is two words, bio meaning life and mimic meaning to copy. This new field of study is also known as biomimetics. Both names mean the same thing, the science of copying life. The idea behind this science is simple. Scientists, researchers, and engineers study how living creatures navigate the challenges of life. These experts then look at human challenges that are similar to see if people can adapt the same approaches in dealing with their problems. Biomimicry doesn't involve using living things, it involves learning from them. And the idea of biomimicry is nothing new. People have been turning to nature to solve problems for hundreds of years. So in this picture, it has a biologist studying a manatee in Florida. All right, moving on to page 6. What? That comes from what? Velcro. Have you ever gone running through a field and then found burrs stuck to your pants and socks? That's what happened to Swiss engineer Jorge de Mistral and his dog one day in 1941. De Mistral wondered how the burrs managed to stick so well, so he looked at them under a microscope and saw that parts of each burr had little hooks that would catch onto cloth, fur, and hair. After his discovery, de Mistral invented Velcro, a way to temporarily attach two things together using the same method as burrs. He designed two pieces of fabric, one with hooks and the other with loops. The hooks catch the loops and hold the pieces of fabric together. This system has been used by people at home, at work, and even in space. So at the top of this page, you can see my cursor where the images are. You can see one of the burrs he was studying. Here's what it says. Velcro under a microscope on the left. So this is how Velcro works. One piece has these little hooks, and the other piece has the little strings that it attaches to. A burr, right here, the little prickly burr he was studying. And then this colorful picture is a boy wearing a Velcro suit hanging from a Velcro wall. Reflectors with the cat eyes. Traveling in a car at night, you may have noticed light reflecting off of small plastic bumps lining the road. These reflective bumps were invented in 1933 by a man named Percy Shaw. While driving one foggy night, Shaw saw the eyes of a cat reflecting the beams of his headlights back to him through the mist. He thought if he could mimic the way the cat's eyes reflected light, he could make something to help car drivers keep safe on the dark roads. Shaw went on to invent the cat's eye, highly reflective spheres set into the center of the roads. The design has changed over the years, but the idea remains the same, using reflected light to guide people home safely. Here's what the caption says. Here's a cat's eyes reflecting the light, and here is one of the cat's eyes that the scientist made in Yorkshire, United Kingdom. So in the United Kingdom. Here's the right. Anti-reflective screens. While some animals have eyes that reflect light, other animals' eyes absorb light. A moth's eyes, for example, are designed to reduce reflection to keep them from shining and attracting the attention of predators. Researchers copied the design to make computer screens that absorb light and reduce the glare. This design helps prevent eye strain in people who work or play on computers a lot. So this is a microscopic view, shows the anti-reflective surface of a moth's eye. So here's the moth's eye, here, this big red bumpy looking thing. And here's the surface that they studied to then help them make computer screens that will not reflect and shine back quite as much. This is interesting. Page 9, self-cleaning paint and roof tiles. Lotus plants grow in ponds and rivers. They are surrounded by mud, yet their leaves appear clean most of the time. The secret lies in the leaves' surface. Although it looks smooth, it actually has tiny bumps that cause water to bead up and roll off, carrying the bits of dirt and dust with it. Engineers studied the lotus leaves and found a way to use this idea in house paint and roof tiles. The paint and the tiles mimic the bumpy surface of the leaves. As a result, every time it rains, the outside of the houses with these special paints and tiles are cleaned. So here's a microscopic view to show us how the self-cleaning paint on the top mimics the surface of a lotus leaf on the bottom and causes water to bead off. So up here is this new paint that's self-cleaning because it's bumpy. So then it causes the water to make beads and roll off just like it does on the leaf. Shinkansen train. Japan's Shinkansen train, known as the bullet train, is one of the world's fastest, zipping over the rails at a speed of 210 kilometers per hour, which would be 130 miles per hour. The train's rounded nose, however, created a problem in the tunnels. Its shape caused the air pressure to build up around the train, and when the train left the tunnel, the pressure was released, making a very loud booming sound. To fix this problem, the train designers looked to a small bird called a kingfisher, and here's its picture up at the top. The shape of the kingfisher's beak lets it dive for fish without making any big splashes as it enters the water. The designers thought that if the train's nose was the same shape, it would help the train move through the tunnels more smoothly without any air pressure buildup. The redesigned nose not only solved the noise problem, but it also helped the train to run even faster. Swimsuits. Sharks have been swimming in the ocean since before the time of dinosaurs. Their bodies are well adapted to moving through the water. Shark skin has tiny grooved scales that help these animals glide smoothly and quickly. In order to swim faster, competitive swimmers tried swimsuits that mimicked the design of shark skin. The new suits did seem to help, as 80% of the swimmers who wore those suits at the 2000 Sydney Olympics won medals. So here they're studying the pattern of the shark scales, and this is a swimmer modeling one of those new fancy swimsuits that has the same pattern as the shark skin in the fabric to help them swim faster. And this page is really interesting. Page 12, we're almost done. Cooling systems. Termites are small insects with big appetites. Some kinds of termites build huge mounds in which to live, and that's a picture on the right. Up at the top here is a termite mound. The mounds are climate controlled. No matter how hot it gets outside, the air inside the mound stays cool. The mounds have a complex system of tunnels and vents that run from the bottom to the top. Hot air rises up out of the top of the mound, while cooler air from the ground enters from below. Engineers designing the East Gate Center in Harare, Zimbabwe, copied the termite mound system to help keep the building comfortable and cool without using costly air conditioning. The building was made with heat resistant materials and special vents at the top. Because of this design, the structure uses only 10% of the energy another building of the same size would use. So, this building on the left was made with the same kind of technology that they learned from how the tunnels and the vents worked in the termite mound. All right, next page, page 13. Building materials. Some living things, such as coral, can recycle waste into something useful. Carbon dioxide is a waste gas that, in small amounts, is usually harmless, but in large quantities can hurt the environment. When carbon dioxide in the air mixes with the ocean water, it becomes calcium carbonate. Corals use this mineral to make coral reefs. Calcium carbonate is also an important ingredient in a building material humans use, cement. Scientists found a way to pump carbon dioxide through seawater to turn the gas into carbonate. Now people use it to make things just like coral does. So here is a Moss Landing power plant in California, which is about an hour and a half from where we live here. It was one of the first power plants to turn carbon dioxide into cement using a process similar to the one that corals use. So after all this reading, boys and girls, you're probably wondering, why is biomimicry so important? Biomimicry is a great way to help people solve problems and make the things they need. Instead of trying to figure out how to do or fix something, people can look to nature to find ways that already work. Most of nature's designs are surprisingly simple and easy to imitate, such as the hooks on a burr or the bumps on a lotus leaf. Natural designs are not just simple and effective, but they're also good for the environment. People often forget the impact that discarded or thrown away materials have on other living things. Products that are made to last don't decompose quickly. Many are of little use to other living things and may in fact harm them. So they're talking about how a lot of the things we have, and here's a picture of a trash dump in a landfill, get discarded or thrown away and not used again. So by copying designs from nature, we are oftentimes cutting down on the waste. In nature, however, nothing is wasted. Any waste becomes a resource for another organism to use. A dead tree, for example, becomes food, shelter, and energy for hundreds of living things. One species' trash is another species' treasure, as everything discarded contributes to the well-being of the ecosystem. People can take their cue from nature and do their part by being careful about what resources they use and considering what happens when they're finished with them. Here we go for the future of biomimicry. Artificial leaves. Solar panels turn sunlight into electricity and are considered a cleaner fuel source than fossil fuels. While the panels produce no harmful gases, they are costly to manufacture. Making them creates waste products that are hard to dispose of safely. Scientists have turned to green plants for a better way to convert sunlight into energy. Green plants use chlorophyll to absorb light, which they then turn into food. A new type of solar cell uses natural dyes that mimic how chlorophyll works. These new cells may perform just as well as the older solar cells without the cost and the waste. Fish antifreeze. Freezing temperatures can be hard on machines and living things. Chemical antifreeze keeps engines and machines running in cold weather. Some kinds of ice fish use natural antifreeze to survive chilly temperatures in the Antarctic waters. Unlike chemical antifreeze, fish antifreeze does not harm living tissues. Scientists are trying to learn more about how the fish make and use their natural antifreeze. This information can help researchers create a safe way to keep living tissue warm and healthy. Spider silk. Spider webs are made of sticky silk that is also quite strong. A thread of spider silk is about 3 times as strong as a steel thread of the same size. Scientists have analyzed spider silk so that they can create a similar material. The human made silk could be used to create all sorts of durable and strong materials, from bandages to fences. Medicine. Animals that live in the wild sometimes get ill, just as people do. Unlike humans, they can't go to the doctor or the clinic. Instead, they have found ways to treat themselves either by eating certain plants or applying minerals. Observing animal behavior might provide people with clues about different treatments for human sicknesses. So here's our conclusion. Nature provides important lessons for humans, but there is still so much to be learned. By studying the living things around us, scientists can find inspiration for solutions to important problems. The best answers may be right under our noses, waiting to be discovered through the science of biomimicry. Now, scientists, thank you for reading with me. I know this was quite a long book, but I loved all of the examples of how scientists and engineers are learning from nature to help make life for humans even better. Thanks for joining me. See you later.